Hello everybody, and welcome back to a show I call All Around the Platinum, the show where I talk about games that I've platinumed, gone through, got all the trophies, we talk about the games, we talk about the experience of playing that game, and then move on to the next one. However, today's episode is going to be slightly different. So you're going to notice this episode's also slightly longer. That's because we are talking about 3 games today in one. We're going to be talking about Days Gone, we're going to be talking about Intruders Hide and Seek, and we're also going to be talking about Welcome to Hanwell. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because Days Gone was a platinum that I obtained recently. However, there's only a few trophies that I'm going to be showing you guys that are going to be popping, because either the footage is at my house, which I'm not in right now, or they're just so quick that if I did an episode, like a full episode on them, it would be about 4 to 5 minutes long, and it would be completely pointless. So I thought, hey, why not make a longer episode and chuck them all into one here? So without further ado, let's get straight into this. The first game we're going to be talking about is Days Gone, because we're going to do them in the order that we unlocked them. So, a little bit of information on Days Gone. So, Days Gone is a 2019 action-adventure video game developed by Bend Studio and published by Sony Interactive for the PlayStation 4. However, a PC version obviously was released in 2021. When this game actually was released, it came out to mixed reviews would probably be slightly too nice. The game was not in a great state, it was buggy as hell, but I'll be honest, I adore this game, and we're going to be talking a little bit about why I adore it and getting into it. The actual game is an open world action adventure game. It's also a shooter. It's listed as a survival horror, although I personally wouldn't agree with that one. So, what do you do in the game? Well, you play Deacon St. John, a motorcyclist who is part of a MC. However, the world has obviously gone to shit, and zombies and the apocalypse has happened, so you're basically tasked with going around, and you're what they call a drifter now. You basically do odd jobs for people and hunt people down and so on and so forth. I don't want to spoil too much, because I do highly recommend people play this game and enjoy the story from themselves, but it's pretty much the same sort of system that you see in most open world games. You go around, mark your map, go to certain places, pick up collectibles, do the main story, unlock new areas of the map, help out camps to improve them and upgrade them so you can get better weapons and better upgrades and gear for your bike. It's a pretty simple system, but honestly quite a fun one. So now we've got that out of the way, let's talk about what's on PSN profiles. So the actual game itself has 46 trophies to unlock, including the platinum. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you all of them popping, because, well, I started playing this game when it first came out. I actually bought it on release, I had the special edition and everything. Obviously, it came out on the PlayStation Collection, and I've been able to, play it ever since, and that's how we got the platinum. The game is rated a 4 out of 10 difficulty and requires 1 playthrough and will take around 60 hours to complete in total. Took me slightly longer because I had to replay through the entire thing, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. Out of the 450,000 people, or 450,355 people, that owned the game, according to PSN profiles, its 100% completed is only 1.19%. That's because of all the extra stuff that was brought out, and the Platinum Achievers is 27.11%. Surprisingly low, considering the fact that I wouldn't say this is a hard game to platinum. It's extremely easy, if anything. But we are going to be talking about that later on, of course. So here's the trophies popping for you, so you can enjoy that.
Get it? All marked up, yeah, nice. I never knew that.
So there we have it, guys. There's all the trophies popping that I could show you. I know it wasn't a lot, and I apologize for that, but there they are. They're all there. So, yeah, let's talk about my ratings for this game and what I personally think is the hardest trophy to unlock. So, if I was to talk about my enjoyment of this game, I would give this game a solid, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Now, if you'd asked me on release when this game first came out what I would have rated it, I won't lie to you, I probably would have given it a 9 or a 10, simply because of the fact that I just was so hyped for this game that I probably couldn't see past all the glaring flaws. I give it a 7 out of 10 now, though, however, because the gameplay is genuinely enjoyable. It's fun to go around killing zombies. It's cool to upgrade your bike and make it better and make it stronger. It's always an enjoyable time to do that. And quite frankly, I don't hate a lot of the characters in this game. I think some of them are very well written. I think it's a damn shame we're not going to see a sequel to this game. And quite frankly, I don't hate the story. I think it's really, really cute in some areas, which is weird to say, I know. But, you know, if you go and play the game or if you've played it yourself, you know the love story that's in it. And I think it's adorable. But yeah, 7 out of 10. Pretty fun to play through. If I was to give this game a rating on the difficulty, I would give it probably a 4 out of 10. I actually agree with the PSN Profiles rating of it. Now, I want to make something clear. That's not because most of the trophies are fine. If I'm being completely honest, 44 of the trophies, I would say, are probably a 1 or a 2 out of 10 on difficulty. However, there is one trophy that is a massive pain in the arse, and that's why I give the difficulty a 4. So let's talk about that trophy, shall we? That trophy is called Burnout Apocalypse. Use nitro and drift at the same time on your bike for at least 5 seconds. Now, I tried this for half an hour straight, and I could not bloody get it. So the idea is that you have to get to the end of the game, basically the last camp that you can get to, and you get a nitro upgrade for your bike that allows you to use nitro for 5 seconds or more. It's really, really cool and it works really well. However, you have to drift and do a circle, but you can't donut on the bike. I basically had to look up a little technique on how to do this, and essentially there's a little pool that's just outside of one of the camps in the beginning area, I believe, and you basically just go into that and you can just nitro and sort of drift in a circle. It works really well. I'll see if I can find the video and I'll link it down below. But yeah, that's definitely the most difficult trophy that I found to obtain in this. And there we have it, guys. That's Days Gone. So it's a fun game. I highly recommend people go for it. Would I suggest people go for the Platinum? I'd say yes. It's a really genuinely fun, enjoyable Platinum to go for. The game has still got a few bugs in it, which is extremely frustrating. You know, when hordes don't spawn in, when certain areas are bugged out so you can't actually progress, like they are game-stopping ones that you have to then, like, go out of the game and then reload back in, or you have to find another way around it. I had to do that a couple of times, and they are very frustrating. However, if you can get past that, for the most part, I'd say 95% of this game is pretty fun and pretty enjoyable, and the bugs that you're going to encounter aren't going to completely wreck your experience or destroy the ability to play the game. So I highly recommend that if you haven't already, check this game out. It's fun, and I do suggest going for the Platinum. Okay, so on to our next game, Intruders Hide and Seek. Let's listen to a little bit of a description about the game, shall we? So, Intruders Hide and Seek is a first-person stealth game which is an intense thriller combining intense psychological terror from the point of view of a defenseless boy. You also now can play the game in VR, however I haven't done that so I'm not going to comment on it. The game has released on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PC and Xbox One, and was published by Deadlalic Entertainment, I hope I pronounced that right, with Tessera Studios being the developers of it. It's an adventure action game, it's an indie game, and it's also classed as a horror game as well. So the game comprises of in total 28 trophies, and to be honest, it's not too difficult to get all of these trophies, so let's talk about that, shall we? So the game is rated a 2 out of 10 difficulty, requiring one playthrough and taking about 3 hours to get the Platinum, essentially, according to PSN Profiles. Out of the 2,918 owners that the PSN Profiles has as well, 57.68% have the Platinum and 57.68% have the 100% completion. Yeah. It's an interesting game. So the premise of it, like you heard, you play as a young boy. You basically play as the son of a family. These people break into your home and you have to work out what they are trying to find, what they are looking for. There's a few little collectibles and odd things that you can pick up to kind of add a little bit more story to it. But overall, it's a genuinely pretty fun experience. So here you go, guys. These are the trophies that I have available to show you that are popping.
Are you around? Gotcha! Are you around?
can you see now why I'm not just making a single video out of this? So after that very, very quick trophy popping session, where I think there was only 4, I guess let's talk about my ratings of the game, my enjoyment, what I liked about it, what I didn't, and of course the difficulty, and then the hardest trophy to obtain. Okay, so my enjoyment of this game, from what I can remember, because it was a very long time when I first played this game, but when I went back to it recently to finish off the platinum, I'd give this game, I'd say, a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very simplistic, and I think especially when you're going for the platinum, the enjoyment of that, and that's basically what the enjoyment rating is for this, it's not just about playing the game, it can get a little bit tedious at times, especially when you're trying to get all the collectibles and find everything. I did try not to use a guide for that, but obviously there were 1 or 2 that I could not find. I did my best, but I did end up using a guide to try and find the last 1 or 2 that I needed, and they were a little bit annoying to find, but not the worst in the world. The game's not very long, it is very short, however there are a few moments that I found at least to be very frustrating. A few times where the AI would be extremely inconsistent and it would catch me, and that's what knocked it down to a 6 out of 10 for me. Still, again, I did enjoy my time with this one, hence the 6 out of 10. The difficulty of this platinum, I would probably agree with PSN Profiles. I know, 2 in a row. I would give it a 2 out of 10. It's really not that difficult, it doesn't take that long, and you probably could do it in one playthrough fairly, fairly quickly. And if I was to basically say which trophy was the hardest to get in all of this, yeah, I would say Now It All Fits Together. Get all the collectibles. Not because it's a super difficult one to do, but just because it's a little tricky to work around the inconsistent AI occasionally. Again, the AI is not terrible, it just has its moments where it's a little bit finicky, and sometimes when you're trying to get to a very specific spot to pick up a collectible, the AI can be a little bit temperamental and it makes it more difficult than it actually needs to be, or maybe you get caught because the AI just unpredictably did something silly, and that can get a little bit frustrating at times. But yeah, that would be my choice. Now It All Fits Together. Get all the collectibles. And there you have it, guys. Intruders Hide and Seek completed. So yeah, would I suggest going for this platinum? I mean, sure, it's a very short game, it's very simple, it's not super difficult, so I mean, if you're just getting into trophy hunting, this is, and you like horror games, this is probably a nice little horror game to jump into for a couple of hours, just to grab a few collectibles and basically just play through the game. It's really, really easy to do. There's a little VR version of it as well if you wanted to jump into that and try that out, which I have done. It is quite fun, but VR makes me sick, so I couldn't do it for very long. But yeah, I would say go and check it out if you haven't already, and probably go for the platinum because it's not hard and it's fairly enjoyable overall. Okay. So the final game that we're going to be talking about today is Welcome to Hanwell. So let's learn a little bit about the game. So, Welcome to Hanwell, once a safe haven from the horrors of the world, now a cesspit of anomalous scum. Explore a dense open world of terror, every building in a unique location with its own story to tell, strung together by the remnants of Hanwell. The game is on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Microsoft Windows, so PC, and Xbox One. The publisher was Steel Arts Software Limited, and the developer was also Steel Arts Software Limited. The game is considered an indie game. It's an action game, adventure game, a casual game, and then just adventure as well, and it is also considered a survival horror as well. Don't think I'd agree with that though. Now, what do you do in this game? Well, the idea is that you have to find basically 6 pieces of a ID so that you can get to the end of the game, and you basically are dropped into like this sort of mini open world. You can kind of go and explore whichever buildings you want to do, and yeah, you basically find stuff and you have to try and piece the story together yourself, essentially. It's a neat little idea, and it's not a terrible one either. The game just, for me, doesn't do it. It's not a good game, in my opinion. But we'll get into that after you guys see the trophies that I can show you pop. But before I show you what those trophies popping look like, let's talk about the PSN Profiles ratings. So the difficulty is rated a 3 out of 10. It requires 1 playthrough and will take 10 hours. The game owners, according to PSN Profiles, is 687. Platinum Achievers is 23.14%, and obviously the same for the 100% completion, because all you need to do is get the platinum to be able to get that. Now, you might be thinking, that's an extremely low percentage for what is considered an indie game that's pretty short, despite the fact it takes apparently 10 hours to get this platinum. That seems pretty weird considering. So what makes it so difficult? Well, the game is buggy. It is buggy to hell and back. It is basically an asset flip. It is not a good horror game in my opinion. There are some people out there who stand by this game who think it's amazing. That is completely fine. If you like this game, if this is a game you genuinely enjoyed and thoroughly enjoyed playing through, more power to you. But for me, it was utter trash and I hated every second of playing this god-awful game. But before I talk about that, let me show you the platinum popping as well as 2 or 3 other trophies, I think. Okay, so there you go. All of those popping. 4 of them. Also, I forgot to mention the fact, but there are only 14 trophies to actually get in this game, so it's actually fairly simple. They're not very long either. It's basically play through the game, find all the collectibles, and then there's one particular one which we are going to be talking about in a moment. So without further ado, let's get into the final game's ratings and the hardest trophy. So, what would I give my enjoyment out of 10 on this game? I would give it a solid 2. It was awful. I hate this game. It is absolute hot garbage. The game sucks. It is broken. It is buggy. Basically, nothing worked when I played the game. I like the idea and the premise of being dropped into like a small sort of town area that you have to explore and work out the story and find these specific things. But dear God, it is horrible. If you want to get the actual true ending, you have to get all of the collectibles, and there is no indication as to where they are. I definitely used a guide to find all the collectibles because, dear God, there is a lot of collectibles in this game. And they are just fucking thrown around without any care in the world. It is awful to find them all, and it is a pain in the arse. The fighting and the combat in the game sucks ass as well. It doesn't work properly. There's glitches where you have multiple duplicates of enemies just randomly spawn in a specific part of the game called the arena. We'll be talking about that in a second. And it's just an awful, awful game to play through. Yeah, no, not fun at all. So I don't know what I'd give the difficulty. It's hard on this one, right? Because if you just look at the trophies themselves, they're not hard trophies, right? They are easy. It's play through the game, get all the collectibles, and kill about 100 enemies in the specific area. But the game is so buggy and broken, I cannot agree with the 3 out of 10. I would easily give this a 5 out of 10, right? And I'm not saying that because the trophies are hard. Hear me out here. I'm saying that because the game is difficult to play because it is just so awful. Like, it is such an awful game to play. There is no enjoyment to be had. There is no fun to be had. The game constantly breaks, so you have to restart things. You can't save your progress for certain trophies, and it is an absolute nightmare. And it is just a slog to sit there and try and platinum this game. That is why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 on the difficulty. Not so much because of the actual achievements. The trophies themselves are difficult to obtain in the sense of what you have to do for them, but more so because it is just a fucking pain and it is not fun to sit there and play this game. And for the last thing that we're going to talk about, the hardest trophy to obtain is called Are You Kidding? You managed to slaughter 100 anomalies in the arena. You're insane. So let's talk about this arena a little bit. Hello, me back again at Facecam because I genuinely want to talk about this from this game. So there's a little hidden area in the game called the arena. When you go here, you basically can start waves of enemies that will come at you and defeat you, right? And a lot of the times, the enemies are not that hard to kill. Most of them will die to 1 to 2 hits, depending on the weapon that you have. Now, I had to look at PSN Profile's sort of tips and tricks to learn kind of how I was going to do this because I was struggling with it and I couldn't understand why. The best weapon in the game is a frying pan. It is basically indestructible, and you take that in there and it will one-hit defeat all the enemies in the game. So it is an absolute beast of a weapon to have, and it never breaks. So it's ideal to use it for this trophy specifically. However, there are multiple bugs that come with this trophy. So when you are fighting enemies in the arena, there is a particular enemy, the spider. When you kill a spider, it immediately duplicates, and those duplicates do not count towards the kills that you have to obtain. None of them do. So just killing spiders constantly doesn't work. And the game will randomly spawn them behind you as well. It'll just duplicate them for no reason after you kill one of them. So you have to stand in a very specific spot in the arena so that they don't spawn anymore. And you still have to kill the duplicates and it doesn't count towards the total. There are random areas in the arena that if you stand on them, you die. No indication, however, the fact of that will happen if you go to those parts. You just die and then you have to start all over again. Why? And third and finally, I died 3 times. Only 3 times trying to obtain this one. But every bloody time, it was when I was like 10 or 15 kills away. And it is infuriating because out of the 3 times that I died, only one of them was my fault. The other 2 were bugged areas in the arena that killed me for no reason, and that is infuriating to me. I just don't like games that are asset flips thrown together without care and attention. Just infuriating. I did not enjoy myself with this one. Don't platinum it. And that's it, guys. 3 platted games that I wanted to talk about in one video because I just thought it made more sense to do that than make 3 videos that are all like 4 or 5 minutes long. It just didn't make sense for me to do that, so that's why I did it like this. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did enjoy this episode, guys, because it is going to be a little bit longer and there's like 3 games in one, let me know. Maybe I'll start doing this a little bit more often when it's kind of just tidying up games that I've played in the past, but I'm just missing a couple of trophies to get the platinum. Maybe this is something that I could do more often. I'm more than happy to do that, and I think it'd be pretty cool to do that too. But yeah, if you ever want to check me out live on Twitch, where I do some of my trophy hunting, please feel free to go over there, Lou Behind UK. I'll leave a link down in the description. And yeah, it's been fun, guys. I've had a great time making this video for you. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Remember, I do recommend you go play Intruders. I do recommend you play Days Gone. Stay away from Welcome to Hamwell. It's just, do not put yourself through it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure to make it for you. I hope you have enjoyed. I will catch you in the next one, which after this episode, I believe it's the next shovelware game that we're going to be talking about. That should be fun.